So let's talk about exercise 5-6. So just run it and we're all good, but let's go back and talk about why this thing is what it is. So we'll start out, we declare two variables, they're integers, first and second. And when we come down, we've got our first for loop. All that does is populate that top line up there. So lines 9 and 10 populate the first line. Then we have a blank line in between. And then we have this first for loop that puts the underscore in there. And we put 60 of them. So we've got our top numbers. We've got 60 underscores. And we got, every time we put that right line in there, it gives us a space in between. And then we come down, and here's where we start building our nested for loops to actually make it look like a table. Now up above, we've got those two variables, first and second. We also have a constant, that's an integer called lim, and that's our limit of 10. So we're only going to have 10 columns or 10 rows. So go ahead and highlight where we do our work right there. That for loop with a for loop in it. So we start out for, first is equivalent to 1. So we set first to have a value of 1, initialized it. As long as first is less than or equal to 10, we're going to go through this loop. And we're going to increase first by 1 each time we go through. And once we get into it, we write, and this is something fairly familiar to you so far, but we got a little twist to it. Write, open parentheses, and then we've got a string followed by a value that's being passed to the string with an index of 0. So in those curly braces, that 0 represents the variable first. What's new is that comma 5, and what that means is put 5 spaces after you print out that value. So we'll have the number 1 followed by 5 spaces. So we'll go through, do the same thing over and over and over again. We've got our columns and our rows. The inner for loop goes across. The outer for loop goes down. Okay. The reason we know that is because the right line is here on the inner one. And that's what moves us down. So we'll start out 1. And we print out another 1. 2, 3, 4, all the way across to 10, and then we come down. So our table looks identical to what they've got. Most of what we've dealt with is familiar to you, with the exception of what I noted there is we've modified that string that we passed. Now it's not just the index, but it's the index followed by some spaces. Now, keep in mind that we've got our levels of indentation. We've got our for loops. Traditionally, we've got curly braces here. And I could do the same thing on the nested. And do it this way. So that everything I've got going on is, let me back up. There we go. So there we go. So I put the internals of my loops in the curly braces. And it still works the same, it's just a little bit cleaner. Don't forget to go in and put your comments in here explaining what's happening, so that if you do have an error, I can see what's going on. Or when you've got to pass your code forward to yourself or somebody else, there's explanation of what's taking place in there. So I'll see you in the next video.